Mr. Cruz walked in, selected an AR-15 directly off the rack. There were no modifications made to it. There were no accessories sold with it. The standard AR-15 weapon comes with one magazine, and that one magazine is the only magazine that was furnished with the weapon. It is for that reason that no red flags were raised. It seems like Mr. Cruz made a deliberate attempt to not draw suspicion by buying too many things from one place.
So are we saying that he bought it from somewhere else? He did not come back and
What
buy
I
it
can
from
tell
here.
you is this: I don't know. I'm not.
But he did not
involved
buy
in
it from here.
All he bought from here was a single AR-15 with the single magazine that came with it. He did not even buy the magazine separately. He bought the magazine and the AR-15 that came together. It came in a box, and he took it away after waiting the mandatory 5-day waiting period.
Thank you very much.
Did he have to show anything to buy the? And I'm sorry, you may have mentioned this when I wasn't here. Did he have to show anything like his age, any sort of ID, and was there any sort of check done on him?
Mr. Kaplan?
Yeah. So, pursuant to federal regulation, he is required to fill out, the owner of Sunrise Tactical Supply is required to fill out a Department of Justice ATF form number 4473. It requires a picture ID, a Florida driver's license was presented. The information was provided, and I can tell you that it included his name, his residence, his date of birth, his sex, his weight, his height, and then there were various questions that were asked of him for self-reporting. One of those questions was whether or not you've ever been adjudicated for a mental illness or whether or not you've ever been institutionalized for mental health illness. He answered no. And what I understand is that in fact was answered appropriately. I think the bigger question is, we know that he suffered from some sort of mental health illness. I guess we need to decide or find out whether or not he was being treated for mental health, and I think that loophole is whether or not a mental health professional who's treating an individual should have some sort of reporting requirement, or is there some sort of database that would collect this information that if in the event a particular person was to go and purchase a weapon, we could at least screen that person. Not because I want to prevent anybody from having a weapon, but I certainly want to prevent someone who is suffering from mental health issues at that particular time. I think it's a logical approach, it's a commonsensical approach that at least we screen that prospective person to ensure that they are suitable at that particular time to possess that weapon.
And there's no needed information on his school background, like for instance the fact that he had been expelled, anything that's not asked, correct?
Look, here's the reality. There's a lot of kids that get expelled from school, and I'm not so sure that should be one of the indicators that we're looking for. But certainly I think that if someone is being treated for some mental health issues, or if in fact, law enforcement has made contact with someone for some mental health issues, certainly that may be the type of information that should be reported to some agency for the screening process if someone is planning to buy a weapon. That's all.